Greetings, one and all, from the White Mountains of Arizona. Besides the spraying and the digital clouds, it's a beautiful day today. And it's time to do a little bit of channeling as we do. Today, we're going to talk about dragons. It's a theme that's been coming up a lot in my reality and popular culture, it seems like, and the collective consciousness. So, we wanted to get a little bit more information about them here today. Tara and I have had limited exposure to dragons. We don't know much about them, but we did have an interaction with, I guess it was an element of my higher self, an 7D version of me. It was in dragon form, and we were doing some healing with it. And I went to 8D and lost its dragon form. That's really all we know. That's all we know about dragons in our experience. So we wanted to learn more here today. Hey, who is that? Tara's in a little protected grove over there from the sun. And we're going to go see what she can connect to. Hopefully a dragon. Who better to get this information from? Our irrigation system's coming along. Very rudimentary at this point. But, we're hoping that more things sprout up around this water. Some have already sprouted. But yeah, anyway, that's not what we're here for. Let's see if Tara's ready yet.
Okay.
All right, who are you connected to?
A large white dragon.
Oh, okay. What dimensional frequency does he come from?
He said 7D.
7D. Okay. So there's no polarity as we understand it.
Not like 3D, no.
Okay. And do dragons reside solely in 7D?
No. There's dragon energy within other dimensions. Even within your dimension, it may not all appear the same, but appearances can be deceiving.
Okay, we'll get more into that. What is your mission?
To bring together consciousness, you can imagine us as the bridge between synapses in your brain, your mind. We are the bridgers of gaps in consciousness and in growth. We help bind. This would make us neutral, I suppose.
Okay, we know that the angels reside in the seventh realm as well, and they're very obsessed with neutrality. Is that a theme in your dimension?
Our sole mission for my kind is to bridge the gaps. So we do not go looking for other areas in which to bring neutrality. It just so happens that neutrality is brought within the bridges that we connect.
Okay, so across our 3D Earth experiment, this current one, dragons have shown up, in many different cultures at many different time periods independently, which leads me to believe that dragons were at least at one time in 3D in this cube experiment. Is that accurate?
Yes, it would be much the time you thought of with your dinosaurs, but also a lapping over with the introduction of human. But of course, we know the dinosaur is the future. So, could it also mean that this past is actually your future?
So you're saying our recorded knowledge of dragons comes from the future.
Yes.
Well, what about the ancient Chinese, let's say, who have dragons in their culture?
Remember that outside this cube, time does not exist. And although you may perceive time linearly, this does not mean it occurs linearly. It's only your perception in the world. So, what you perceive of as the history of the Chinese interacting with dragon energy, or other cultures interacting with dragon energy, could actually be a future, but your perception is that it is the past, for you live in a linear fashion.
Okay, so are dragons part of a future 3D cube experiment?
The dragons are also you, much like the dinosaurs were you.
So dragons are in our linear 3D cube time are the evolution of our species?
In a way, perhaps not as you may physically come to understand them, but more the energy they exude.
Okay, so what are dragons in this cube matrix here to learn?
To understand what it is like to play no part, to be a watcher. This is something we've come to learn, is that there is much more learning in the interaction, in the bridging of things, rather than a non participant, someone in the background, watching others interact, having never inserted your own energy and never being able to understand what that interaction must be like. So it was our non participation that created our own downfall, never understanding anyone else.
Okay, so the dragon consciousness that comes to this cube is here to learn the shadow side of neutrality.
Yes,
Do you incarnate into human, crystal, tree, plants, animals as well, or do you only come in as dragon forms?
no, we are like all other consciousness. We can come in any form we wish.
But in our linear future, you have the option of coming down as dragons.
Yes, but remember that this is your perception. Many may have perceived a dragon that they have met in the astral or perhaps in physicality, but remember everyone creates their own reality. So perhaps one person's version of a dragon would differ greatly from another, and perhaps from another it may just be a ball of light, and perhaps that's all it really is. But your perception is created by how you interpret energy to be, and so many interpret the energy that dragon exudes as a massive creature, something that is both earth and sky, something that is both fire and water. Balance.
Right, since you're 7D, you don't have scales and teeth and wings. You are just a light body as far as we're concerned. So why do we project a lizard type persona onto you?
Part of it is the matrix itself. Remember that the eyes and the five physical senses are easily duped. So, when you're perceiving something that you may be in alignment with, something that could help you to grow and understand, expand your consciousness, then utilizing the programming within sight might have you visualize this being as being the face of those that capture you.
Okay, so you're saying basically that you're so powerful That we ascribe you to the only thing that we really know that's more powerful, and that's the lizards, the reptiles.
Yes,
But you're 7D, you're nowhere near the frequency of the reptiles.
precisely.
What is your objective with watching Earth in this 3D experiment?
Because the fractal portion of us are the reptilians. So it would make sense that you would place that image upon us. Although we share no physical lineage, but it is a fractal, just like many of you are but fractals of many beings you have been. So the reptilians are on their own mission to learn and heal and eventually ascend out of the cube one day. And so we have a vested interest in not only helping all to heal, but our fractal as well.
When you say fractal, do you mean that your consciousness split and that was the other side of the split?
Yes,
So you're more of a higher polarity, more advanced version of the reptiles who have descended in frequency.
yes,
So you look alike in appearance to our eyes, but the reality is you're quite the opposite.
exactly. Get you to possibly avoid working with or even fear the dragon energy before you.
And just to reiterate, dragon energy is balance.
Yes,
So that's why you appear in our popular culture as unbalanced, fiery temperament, angry, vindictive, hoarding of possessions. Is any of that related to you, or is that myth?
everything is the inverse. When they speak of having a fiery temperament, but we are also water. We're balanced in temperament. When they mention that we hoard, it is those that give. When they mention wanting to maim or hurt, it is that we want to help. So our image and even our mission has been programmed by the Matrix, but it is not real, just like television is not real.
So mostly, or possibly everything we know about dragons in the 3D matrix has been inverted and is inaccurate.
Yes, there may be beings in 4D who appear dragon like as well, but they would be missing our component, that spark, that higher vibrational powerful energy.
You're in alignment with your higher self,
Yes,
and you have no ego,
no,
and you're unburdened by the crime of a free will violation.
no,
So a fractal, a part of you has committed a violation.
yes, this is why we wish to help.
What is your fraction in this current 3D matrix reality?
Our fractal is the reptilians.
Uh, so you're learning about free will violation through the controlling reptiles.
Exactly. While we also come to work in the astral with those who have connected with our energy
What do you offer besides finding neutrality? How can you help people who wish to connect with you?
to understand you are also bridges, and that it helps no one to try to stand back and watch and wait. It only hinders your own healing and the healing of others. So, if we can get you to understand that one of the greatest things you can do is to become a bridge, a connector, reaching out, exchanging information, exchanging energy, how quickly the collective would grow, how quickly it would expand as they remember that we are one.
So the collective has a very unbalanced throat chakra.
Yes,
And that's something you can help people with to find their voice.
yes. Throat and root. Balance.
Besides the Alpha Draconis and the other reptiles, is there a shadow side of your species?
There is always the inverse somewhere. Our shadow side resides within the cube as part of the shadow earth and the shadow universe.
Oh, okay. So we know that from previous channelings, there's a light Earth and a shadow Earth experiment running concurrently with this one. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes,
And there's also a universe that's light and shadow running concurrently.
yes,
And so your negative polarity aspects have been relegated to an alternate experiment?
yes. You could say we are on the shadow earth and on the light earth, or the shadow universe and the light universe, still finding shadow within light, but yet also finding light within shadow. For us, this is a beautiful learning opportunity, being able to see simultaneously your polarity split in two, positive and negative.
So you usually only learn through extreme polarities since you're a neutral species. So it's interesting to see polarities mixing for you.
Yes. And what happens when polarity comes together, when there is a understanding, when positive begins to understand wholly negative and vice versa?
Huh. What advice can you give Tara and I about finding our neutrality and seeing our opposite polarity?
Revisit your shadow self on the shadow planet and your light self on the light planet, and try to understand the inverse of both. Where is the light within your darkness? And also, where have you hidden darkness within your light? When you begin to understand these two halves, halves of halves of halves, then you become whole. There is no good or bad, there is only one. When you are whole, you are neutral.
Mind blown. Okay, that was definitely a message for us. Thank you. We're running out of time, so I just want to say thank you for joining us and sharing what you know. I love you, and I thank you for being here. Do you have any last message for the people before we go?
Do not be afraid of your light, and do not be afraid of your dark. Even if you have a revulsion to a particular aspect of yourself, understand that the revulsion is a 3D representation of the opposite energy. And really, it is opposite energy of yourself that you are viewing. And you keep an open mind. And this is where you find the light in your darkness. This will make it much easier to find your darkness within your light.
Okay. Just when you get a good roll on your healing, it's like, oh no, there's this whole other aspect you got to look at. It'll just take a couple decades. How are
Well,
you feeling?
pretty good. I feel like I went to sleep, so I don't really remember anything
Okay.
from that channeling. I just remember the feeling. It felt like some like ancient energy just kind of came through and was gonna start talking, and then I just kind of like dozed off. So
Well, we're doing a channeling from each dimensional frequency, so I can't wait to get to 7D and learn more about what goes on there, because the dragons and the angels seem very similar, similar kind of energies, but also very different. So
Yeah, so like maybe like what other beings, are there, or, how we feel about that energy.
so basically, all the healing we've been doing, now we
Mhm.
got to look at like the inverse of it. Is basically what he said at the
Oh.
end there. So
Oh, okay, yeah, I kind of sort of remember a little bit of the very end. Yeah, like all the stuff that we consider light work.
yeah,
Where
that's the
was the
shadow,
actual shadow
and vice
in that?
versa.
Yeah. Hmm.
More work to do.
More work. Here we go.
Well, we hope you'll talk to us about your work in the comment section, how your healing is going, how these videos are helping or hindering, maybe. Who knows? We
Yeah.
love discussion.
Let us know what your higher selves had to say about dragons, about 70, or anything that came up in this video. We love hearing from you guys. We love having a discussion, and definitely differing points of view are always welcome. But yeah, I guess we will catch you guys next Monday.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Yep. So catch you guys later. Bye.
Ciao.